The setting was 1992 in a small rural town in Colorado. The sheriff was called to an elderly woman's house where she was killed. The sheriff was unsure how the crime was committed until fingerprints were traced back to a young boy, age of 18, named Sam. He was then sentenced to 16 straight years in solitary confinement. Fortunately, Sam's case increased a new outlook on solitary confinement. People felt that he was being abused for being put in there for 16 straight years and only being let out for an hour a day. According to NAMI on July 9, 2012, solitary confinement is still being abused, with 45% of prisoners being put in there without any mental disorder. Many people tend to assume that people who commit murder should be put in solitary confinement because he or she is crazy, but in reality, the people are normal. They just do it on outrage of anger towards the other person. And with this inconsistent misuse of solitary confinement, prisoners are being physically and mentally tortured. So to ensure the next century is a good one, it is necessary that we expose the problems, causes, and solutions to this dysfunctional system. Over 50 years ago, solitary confinement was a rare case in prisons. Today, however, the National Psychiatric Department claims 133 prisoners are tortured and being kept in solitary confinement more than the law permits. The law permits that they should only be kept in for a year or less, and they should only be kept in for a day. They should only be kept in 23 hours a day and let out for a break for an hour. The problem with solitary confinement is that prisoners are not being supervised and are being locked in longer than he or she should be. First, prisoners are being abused with solitary confinement. According to American Academy of Psychiatry, solitary confinement is used as a way to manage difficult or dangerous prisoners with mental disorders, but this is not the case today. Justice Fellowship, February 26, 2014, 45% of prisoners were thrown into solitary confinement for long term without any type of mental disorder. Not only that, but prisons are supposed to give that 1 hour break every day, which some prisons are not allowing. Also, prisoners are supposed to get out of solitary confinement with good behavior, but with no supervision, that is not being allowed either. As prisoners have grown over the past decade, they have had to hire new employees, and with the lack of work ethic and education, this is becoming a problem. The main cause for the abuse during solitary confinement is the lack of education for the new employees that are coming in. Most employees working in our prison are unaware of the current state laws that are in effect. Bruce Ackerman stated that nearly 50% of prisons do not go over state laws with new employees. The University of Pennsylvania claims that long-term confinement, anything that is over a year, is considered cruel and unusual punishment. NCJRS, July 2012, constitutes punishment. Solitary confinement for long-term constitutes punishment and violates the due process of prisoners. These cases are mainly unheard of because most people are unaware of the state laws, so they do not know to report it, and they just let it keep happening. Clearly, our current state of solitary confinement use in prisons is dysfunctional and abusive. Therefore, to better ensure the treatment of prisoners, actions must be taken. First, this problem needs to get more awareness publicly. Not many people know that abuse in solitary confinement is taking place. I currently didn't even know until I researched all this abuse in solitary confinement. The issue must be made public and get out there so that people understand what is going on. Also, we need to educate the new employees that are being brought in. Many of them are unaware of their current state laws, so they are unaware that what they are doing is considered abuse towards these prisoners because pretty much their supervisors are telling them what to do. There is outstanding work done by our prison systems every day all over the United States. But by looking at the problems, causes, and solutions regarding the current abuse in prisons, perhaps we can assure that this is the case. Because as we grow older, we'll start to realize that prisoners are people just like us. They have made mistakes in life, but they can be hurt just as easily as anyone else. They mainly get thrown in because they've done hatred crimes towards hatred on other people. Most of these guys do not have any mental disorders, which is what solitary confinement is really meant for. These guys are being locked up in a small room with a straitjacket. They're not getting their 1 hour a day that they're supposed to be out of there. And they're not being supervised on how long they've been in there. And these people are being abused. And just like anyone else, we wouldn't want to be abused either.